Welcome to the Five and Dime on Where There's a Wills, There's a Play. My name's Ian, and tonight's category is tile laying games. I'm going to here with my top 5 polyomino games and my top 10, I guess, non-polyomino games. Those squares, rectangles, hexagons type tiles. Now, I know mathematically speaking, a polyomino is rectangles and squares are polyominoes. In board game speak, I think when most people say polyomino, they think those Tetris-style pieces. Before we get started, I am going to say that I do have a couple honorable mentions on my list, and I did a similar list a couple months ago with Jamie Stegmeyer on the Stonemeyer Games channel, where I did my top 5 tile laying games. That was non-polyominoes, and my top 5 from there changed a little bit. That was filmed in May. Learned some new games, taught some new games to Stacy. Some things kind of moved around. On that one, I clumped all of a family of games together. In this, I have separated them out, so you may see more than one of a certain family of games. But let's get to my top 5 polyomino games. First, with a couple of honorable mentions, Patchwork, one of our first polyomino games that we had. Great game, very fun. Really still enjoy it. Block Us Duo was new to us a couple months ago. Really fun spatial puzzle. Another one that has a polyomino tile laying aspect of it, but it is a secondary action that is Race to the Raft. You're doing some other stuff, and then the polyominoes come in. So I didn't include something like that on here. So let's get to my number 5. My number 5 is also one of the first polyomino games we ever played, and that is New York Zoo. And we're going to bring this down underneath the other camera. New York Zoo. In New York Zoo, you are racing around a track here, basically, trying to get these polyomino pieces to build out your zoo. And when you do that, you can also have animals in them, and then you are breeding each little area. When you fill an area, you breed. You keep one animal. You can get the like amusement park pieces and different things. And so that is New York Zoo. The goal of this is just to fill your zoo. There's no scoring or anything. It is the first person to get their zoo completely filled. You can do that a lot of different ways, as long as you have the animals for it. You don't have to breed, but breeding gives you more animals to hopefully be able to do more things. So that is my number 5 polyomino game. That is New York Zoo. My number 4 polyomino game. It was new to us, I think, in June, maybe July. This summer for sure. And that is Junk Drawer. In Junk Drawer, you are filling up your junk drawer with junk that you would find, like tape and sticky notes and earbuds and different things. In your drawer, you have 4 different quadrants that you are trying to fill. Each quadrant has a different scoring that changes every game. You may want spaces in certain spots. You may not want spaces. You may want to see how much you can fill. The unique thing about this is because there are 4 different quadrants, every round there are 4 different pieces of junk. We haven't played it for a little while, but I believe all 4 are face down. The cards are face down. You flip one over at a time. You have to place it. Then you flip the next one. You can only place one piece of junk in each quadrant in your drawer every round. So it gets really tricky when you start getting down there. Like, okay, well, I don't want to put this piece here. I want to put that piece, but I need to make sure that I'm putting pieces where I really want them. So that is Junk Drawer, my number 4 polyomino game. My number 3 polyomino game is new to me this month. This was a big one last year on a lot of lists. I got it this year and learned it this month, and that is World Wonders. All right, getting on the camera here. World Wonders. In World Wonders, you are building out your city. You're getting roads. You're getting different district types. I don't remember what they all are, but you can see there's a blue one, a purple one, a green one, a gray one, and an orangish one. Each one of those also has some different things on it that you're going across the track. You're paying different amounts for each of these. And then when you want to, you can build wonders. In order to build wonders, though, they have specific requirements that they need. So, like this one, I believe is the Ishtar Gate. It needed to be next to a blue and a road. So when you build these, they have to be next to certain things. This one I believe is Petra, and I think it needed to be next to two orange spaces, maybe a road as well. When you're building though, it is also very you have to really plan out because you can only place these district areas next to roads or similar colors. You can only put roads next to roads or the end or a monument. I think this is so you can build this to put more roads out. Some of these have to be next to water. Some of them next to be next to natural resources. So it's a really unique puzzle where you can only put things in certain spots. You can't put things next to each other. You can see these are all next to each other because there's a road here. So this is next to this road. Um, this this looks like it is next to a green and a water and a monument, but not a road or sorry, a wonder, not a monument. So I have to double check with there's different rules for where things can place. That to me, I just took it off the table. Looks like that is misplaced. I thought it had to be next to a road or a color of the same or a monument, and it is not near any of those. I didn't think you could just put them next to a wonder, but maybe you can. I don't remember. I don't remember. But really great game. New to me this month. Really fun. Moved right into my top three polyomino games. Number two on my list. Number one and number two are very close, like neck and neck, depending on when I play them. I play both of them solo on the tabletop. I have played one of them on BGA multiplayer, and I actually prefer it solo. They both create a unique puzzle, but I went with this one as my number two, and that is this beast, Isle of Cats. So let's put it under the camera here. In Isle of Cats, you are trying to rescue cats onto your boat. Once you place your first cat, though, you have to place everything else connecting to it unless you get a special card that allows you to place it elsewhere. When you cover up treasures with the same color, you get some treasures that can help you fill some space. You've got these special Oshaks cats, which are wild, basically. Um, I really like the solo mode of this because I like playing against the sister AI because I it's a really nice mind dance that I have where I have to figure out what I really need to do for my scoring cards, but make sure the sister's not scoring as well. And she scores based on some goals as well as certain points based on colored cats and when they come out. All right, and that brings me to my number one polyomino game down here. Let me get it off the table. And that is 10 Penny Parks. 10 Penny Parks comes to us from Thunderworks Games. In 10 Penny Parks, you are building out your park. You start with a very small area. You can extend this. Um, Once again, a great solo mode. I love playing against this. I love trying to figure out what I need to take so that the opponent, what is her name? Her name is slipping my mind right now. Doesn't take certain things. She scores differently than you, but it still feels like you're playing against an opponent. The cool thing about this game is that the polyomino pieces cannot touch each other. So they can only touch at a corner. They can't touch on a side. So you need to place your pieces very strategically. You can extend out your board. You can take away some of the trees to give you more space. You can earn more money. Um, you can get concession stands, and there's some really unique pieces in here that have, like holes in them, and you're trying to go across these three tracks and score the most points. Um, Really fun game. I really love the idea that unlike most games where you want to fill space, here you can't touch each other. So I really like that and trying to figure that out. And once again, like with Isle of the Cats, the AI in this one, it's just a really nice mind game I have to kind of play with myself. Like if I take that, they're gonna take that, and they're going to score those many points. But can I get them to not score or not get any money in this round by making them get something that won't give them the points? So it's a really great game. Love it. That is 10 Penny Parks. All right, so there are my polyomino games. Let's get those kind of organized down here on the floor quickly out of the way. And let me slide over my pile of tile laying games. So these are non-polyominoes. These are those squares, rectangles, hexes, similar shapes like that. Number 10 on my list is a hexagonal tile game. And this one falls down my list a little bit because, unlike a lot of people, I'm not a huge fan of the constrictive nature of this game. I do enjoy playing this. I enjoy this one much more multiplayer than solo as well, which is why it kind of falls down a little more, because that is Calico. So in Calico, sorry, I got something in my throat tonight. In Calico, you are collecting cats or not cats. You are making your patchwork quilt here with different colored and different designed uh, patches. And as you do that, you might get buttons if you get 3 of a same color in a row, or you might attract cats to your quilt by getting a certain number or a certain uh, orientation of your hexagon grids, your hexagon pieces in different designs to your quilt. There's also, it's not showing it on here, but there are 3 spots where you put different scoring tiles, where if you can get one of the 2 things, either the shape or either the design or the color, you can score a certain point. If you can get them both, you get more points. Really fun game. Like I said, the constrictive nature of the actual quilt gets a little tight at the end. Not my favorite, but it does come in at number 10, and that is Calico. I know that's a drawing feature for some people. For me, it is not necessarily a drawing feature. My number 9 game is a game that don't hear a lot of people talking about, but Stacy and I really enjoy playing this one, even if we're not great at it. And it's just really fun, and it's really quick, and that is 60-Second City. So in 60-Second City, you are trying to build out your city through 3 different rounds, 5 rounds. You go through all of your hazard spaces, and you can get rid of those in different times. I can't remember. We haven't played it for a little while. We should get to this to the table. I can't remember if it's 3 rounds or 5 rounds. I think it's 5 rounds actually. Every round is 60 seconds though, so it is a very quick game, and you have a certain number of scoring cards depending on what level you're playing, and you have to put your tiles, which are rectangles. They have 2 different things on them. They might be the same. They might be different in certain orientations in order to clear these cards. You have 5 cards per round. Whichever ones you clear off. Whichever ones you don't clear, they stay for the next round. Really fun, really quick, chaotic game. But Stacey and I both really enjoy this one, and it's a lot of fun, and it's collaborative, and I like collaborative games as well. So that is 60-Second City. That was my number 9. My number 8 was an honorable mention in May when I filmed my video with Jamie, and it is now in my top 10. I had not learned it yet. I had just gotten it. Well, I think I'd learned a little bit about it, or maybe played it once at that time. And that is Power Plants by Kids Table Board Gaming. In Power Plants, you are placing your different hexagons, but they're curvy hexagons. I think that's just because of the plant theme. They wanted to make them a little different. They don't necessarily need to be curvy, but they're kind of cool that way. They still fit together like hexagons. Onto this grid. When you do, you trigger different powers. I know some people call this an area control game. Overall, the scoring really has a lot of area control in it, but the tiles is what triggers everything. The tile laying is what triggers the powers. you are either sprouting or growing. So you're either using the power of the tile you place down, or you're using the power of all the tiles around it. Um, One of the things with this, if I remember correctly, is you need to be able to slide it in order to place it. So if you can't slide it in, which I think is one of the reasons they went with the wavy shapes, is because it makes it harder to slide in. Like in this example up here, you'd be able to slide a regular hexagon into this space, but you can't with this because of the curvy spots. So you would, I believe, you need to be able to actually slide the piece in. You can't drop it in order to place it. So really, you can only get 3 tiles that you can place around at a time, at most. Really fun game. I can't wait to explore this one more. Another one that I'm really hoping to teach Stacy because I think it'd be really fun multiplayer. I do think though that outside of the basic 5 tiles, that this may be a little bit out of her wheelhouse, a little bit too much too many things to think about with 5 different plants and each plant having a sprout power and a grow power. I know her gaming style. I know what she likes. I know what she doesn't like. So this one may end up being just a solo game for me. I'm hoping maybe I can teach her once just to see if she likes it or not. But I do know that with having those 5 different plants that you're playing with each game, and then having 2 different abilities for each one of those might just be too much for her to want to think about when she's sitting down to play a game. But that is Power Plants by Kids Table Board Gaming. On to my number 7. And this one's actually moved down since I filmed my video with Jamie in May. It's still in the same spot, but it's moved down for a couple reasons, and we'll talk about those when we get to a couple things up a little bit higher. Another one that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. Another one that I do believe will get moved up. We played it back in May for the first time in a while and remembered how much we really enjoyed this. I think when we explore this one a little bit more, I think this one is going to move up my list. It's definitely a keeper because it's 2-player only and we both really enjoyed it. And it is Zen Garden. So in Zen Garden, you are trying to create the best garden here. And you can see there are 5 different scoring. These are your scoring things. This is where you are getting your tiles from. And so in each game, each round, there are 4 in the first row that don't cost anything, and then they cost 1 and 2. You're keeping track of how much money you have along the outside. What you're trying to do is you're trying to fulfill different things that the emperor, I believe it is, wishes his garden to look like every game. It may, and then you also want to try and get these paths that are all the same type of path because that will score you more points as well. And you want to try and get these little symbols in the corner. If you can get a row or a column of those or a diagonal of those, you earn some money back, which will help you maybe get those pieces you want a little bit quicker. At the end of every round, all the pieces in the bottom row drop off and everything moves down. So depending on which pieces people took, you may end up with a lot of new pieces or you may end up with only like 4 new pieces. Because if there's nothing in the bottom row, then nothing new, only 4 new things come up. It's a really good puzzle. It's a pretty quick game. I think Stacy and I added the second and maybe the third level. So each level adds a little bit more scoring. The 4th and 5th levels on the scoring actually will add some objectives and some different goals. I think that you need to do. So that's one we don't hear a whole lot about. We bought it a couple years ago. Stacy actually found it. For the alphabet challenge because we had no Z games and thought it looked pretty good. And it's actually a pretty good game, pretty good quality as well. And that is Zen Garden. All right, moving on. Another one that dropped just a little bit. It is still in the same order as they were back in May. But it just dropped. Like I said, we'll talk about that when we get to the top 4 games. That is Honey Buzz. Honey Buzz is a game that I only play solo. It's another one that I'm hoping to teach Stacy. I think it might be right on that threshold of limits for her, as far as what's all going on here. But I do think she would enjoy this one. It's a lighter game. So in Honey Buzz, you are placing your beeples up in here to these, and you're getting these double hexes to make out your honey hex. And when you completely surround one, you get to trigger everything around it. You have different abilities where you can get new bees, you can go forage, you can fulfill orders, you can fan to make honey. When you make honey, you can make orders. Um, it's a really nice puzzle where you go, okay, which pieces do I want? When do I want to trigger everything? Because if you could place something and complete two hexes, then you get to trigger all of those effects. So I really enjoy that. Like I said, I've only played this one solo. I'm hoping to play this one with Stacy at some point. I think it's going to be right there at where she likes to play. Um, like walking the line there. There is a lot to do with the different places to place your bees, and then the different things that they do, and the puzzle of where to put things, and then this other board where you're doing all these other things. So we'll see. She'll probably watch me play it once or watch a playthrough and let me know if she wants to play or not. But it's a really good game. I really enjoy it. That is Honey Buzz. Excuse me. Something in the air. Moving on to number 5. Another one that moved just slightly down due to a couple things above. Still one of our favorite games, one of our most played games. That is Quirkle. Don't have the box for this, but in Quirkle you have these different tiles that have different colors and different shapes on them, and you're just laying them out in a grid. And in that grid, you have to place, when you take your turn, you have to place tiles that are either the same color or the same design next to each other. And you score points based on what you do. If you get all 6 colors or all 6 shapes um, of the same color, then you get what's called a quirkle, and you get the 6 points plus 6 bonus points. Really fun game. We've played this quite a bit, and it is one of our most played games, and that is Quirkle. It's actually one that my parents taught us, and my brother taught them, and then we all own our own copies of it now. So that is Quirkle. And here's the reason that those last 3 moved down my list. Those were actually my 3, 4, 5 on my list back in May. Because number 4 and number 3, and I'm just going to bring these up together, come to us from the same family of games. And in May, this, I kind of clumped them all together, but I felt I wanted to separate them out. So my number 4 game is actually Azul, and I'm talking about the base Azul game. I think most people know about Azul, so not going to talk about this one a whole lot. You are drafting tiles off of these factory floors. You have to put them into your onto your board here, and then move them over to the other side. And it's just a really fun game. Really enjoyed it. At the time, Azul, because it was just a lot more familiar to me, was actually the one I was kind of talking about overall for my number. I think it was number 2 overall at the time. But I was talking about all the Azul games. I've recently been playing this one on BGA, and I remembered how much I really enjoyed this version of the game. So my number 3 is actually Azul Summer Pavilion. So once I started playing this on BGA lately, I remembered how much I like this game, and I do like this one a little bit more because it is a little bit more forgiving, even a 2-player game. And Stacy and I do not play cutthroat. We do not draft. We do not hate draft um to stop people from getting things. Um but this one is just so much fun because you are taking your pieces and you're not laying them down right away. Each round you also have a wild color, which can count as anything. And you have these little symbols on your board that when you surround them, you can get extra tiles from this middle board where there's tiles sitting there. So there's this middle board with a scoring track where there's more tiles. So if you can plan your stuff right, you can actually get yourself a lot more tiles, a lot more play. I really forgot. We hadn't played it for a while when I did my last list, and I forgot how much I really do enjoy this one. I think the other Zools, well, Queen's Garden. Honestly, Queen's Garden is honestly my least favorite one. It is the furthest away from what I want from the Zool game. Um, and Stained Glass of Sintra is another one we haven't played for a while, so I've got to see where that one actually falls. Which is why it didn't make the top 10. I do remember enjoying it, but we do have to play that again. Maybe we'll get those all to the table at some point, some weekend. We'll do our Azul rankings once we start ranking our collections and stuff. But Azul Summer Pavilion, my favorite Azul game. It is number 3 on my list. Number 2 on my list, I believe, was an honorable mention back in May, June, and it has since shot up in my list. And that is because at the time I was only playing it solo. I have since taught Stacy to play it, and I'll be honest, playing this game both solo and multiplayer, it is jumping up my list. And that is Beacon Patrol. So in Beacon Patrol, you are laying these tiles and you are moving your boat across. Promise. When you place a tile, you have to be able to move your boat. And your boat can only move on water. So you are trying to lay out your tiles so that you are surrounding the buoys and the lighthouses and everything else so that you can score the most points. It's a great game. It's a fun game. I like it solo, but two player, when you are moving it, when you are working in multiple places um on the in the grid there, and you can trade tiles back and forth. I love that aspect of the game. That has skyrocketed this game up. And actually, on the shelf back here, I can grab it. We recently got, and I think this is just going to keep this game up really high. We recently got the expansion for it, Ships and Shores. So, with Ships and Shores, put it next to it, you have asymmetric boat powers, which means your boats can do different things. Like the hovercraft can actually go across land. The seventh ship, there's actually seven, so the seventh ship will just be you'll be using one of the ones from the base game. And there's also some new tiles. So I'm very excited to get this to the table. I have a feeling that this might hit the table this weekend because Stacy and I both really enjoy this game, and I'm really excited to see what these asymmetric boat powers do. And I just think this game is going to be remain in my top tile laying games for a long time because of that and because Stacy and I play it together. So that is Beacon Patrol. And hopefully we will be getting the Ships and Shores expansion to the table quickly. And that brings me to my number 1. My number 1 has not changed since I did this list before summer started. And that is Cascadia. Um, between Cascadia and Calico, I prefer Cascadia. If I had to keep one, it's always kind of that debate with people: Cascadia or Calico. I like Cascadia better. I like the scoring in Cascadia better. I like that it is not constricted by the uh, by the quilt board. Um, it's just a lot of fun. I like the puzzle in this one better, where you are placing your habitat tiles and you're trying to get your animals on it, and you're doing that double draft with the habitat tile and the animal and trying to figure out which one you want. But if you have some acorns, you can kind of break that rule a little bit. And there's 5 different scorings. And I think another thing that just really kind of shot this up was the landmarks expansion. I personally really enjoyed that expansion. I thought it added just enough without adding too much. Stacy really enjoyed it as well. Um, the different scoring makes it a little bit tighter because if you do want to take one of those landmark scoring cards, which does add some asymmetric scoring, you do have to place something on one of your tiles. The other thing about that expansion was also the new starting tiles, the new regular tiles, which that alone was huge for the game because some of those had three different habitats on them, and some of them had four sides that were one habitat and one side that was two habitats. So, Cascadia, my number one non-polyomino tile laying game. Well, there you have it. There is the five and dime tile laying games, polyomino and non-polyomino games. What do you think about these games? Have you played them? Tell me what your top polyomino and top non-polyomino games are. If you like this video, please hit that button down below. If you like this video and want to see more of our videos, please hit that subscribe button up above. And if you want to see any more of our five and dimes, please follow that link above to the rest of our five and dimes. And you can see our latest videos as well. Once again, this has been Where There's a Wills, There's a Play. My name's Ian, and I'll see you next time at the table.